Okay, well, good morning. Today is Thursday, September 15th, 2022. The time is now 9 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners, and I will call to order this workshop with the planning and zoning to order. And you join me for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe well, let's just go ahead and go around the room and introduce ourselves, just and then you do have one online. I did not zoom in, so I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. Let's just go around this way.
Tom Flower, County Commissioner.
Dorothy Karsten, Planning and Zoning Director.
Clint Smith, County Attorney.
Bill Donnelly, Planning Commission.
Deb Adams, BZA. And Jennifer Cree, the Assistant.
North Cross Planning Commission.
Mary Mallory, Planning Commission.
And
Bill Candy, Commissioner.
thank you very much. All right, we've got 3 or 4 items on our list this morning. And I think Dorothy, I turn this over to you at this point.
Thank you, sir. First, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. I hope I didn't give somebody my copy, because it really means a lot to me for you guys all to show up. I'm really excited about some of the things that we're going to talk about today. And if I don't end up standing, I probably would, hopefully I'll stay seated, but I'm kind of excited. So we'll see how it goes. First, I'd like to talk about our use tax and how it's collected. Right now, from how I look at the reports, we're not collecting our use tax, and part of that's, I think, because we're not doing it up front. So I was trying to understand and educate myself a little bit about the use tax, and in the process, I got the information from Kelly on the contact information for our liaison with the Department of Revenue. He has since told me you need to collect it up front. You're crazy if you're not going to, pretty much. So what I'm proposing is that we change the way that we collect our use tax. It's not changing the amount or anything like that, but it's changing how we collect it. So right now, to kind of give you an idea of how it's written in the zoning resolution, is that we would collect it after the fact. So basically, well, it's kind of on an honor system. So that whoever the contractor or the homeowner would come in and show us our receipts and say, this is what I owe you. And they write out their check and we'd receipt it, and that would be that. Or if we didn't get that, we should be doing it at the time that we go give them when we go do our final walkthrough. We've only collected so far this year $69. So it's not 2%, is not a lot. It's not gonna like make the county ton of money, but it's gonna make a little difference. And what I like about, so basically, I'm going to back up, and what I would like to propose is that we collect it up front. So when our contractors come in or our homeowners come in and apply for a permit, we collect it, we ask them, what is your anticipated amount that you're going to spend on building materials? And we'll kind of give them a definition of what building materials all fall into that. And what falls into that is any lumber, obviously, the shingles, anything they use to build the home, and then appliances and things like that that are on the interior side of their home. So a lot of our contractors, and talking to them, go down to Pueblo or they go to Fremont County, other places. And a lot of them are telling me the only time I buy something locally because of the cost difference is when it's a convenience. So I realized, oh, I forgot to buy this, I run and go get this, and at one of the two options that they have to purchase building supplies, and maybe there's more than two, so correct me if I'm wrong, but, so then they go locally and buy it. If we collect it up front, they will then, I'll give them a receipt, and then when they go to, say, Pueblo or Fremont County, they're only paying the 2% tax. So if Fremont County's use tax is 2.9, they're not gonna pay the 2.9, they're only gonna pay the 2% because they've already paid it up front.
How do they know that? Just real quick.
Yeah, and I made copies. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but I finally got access to a printer. Maybe I made copies.
Is your printer broken?
I'm out of ink toner right now, and it's a supply chain issue. Here's an example of the receipt. So the top one's what the customer will receive. And some of the concern that was brought up to me from the contractors was that they didn't feel like retailers would honor our receipt. I called, emailed, and spoke to the gentleman from the Department of Revenue, and he assured me that this is a common practice. So he said, if for any reason you feel like that might be an issue, put your contact information on your receipt, on your contractor's or your homeowner's receipt, and they call you and validate that. The permit numbers on here, everything, so it would be easy for us to pull it up and confirm with them that yes, it was paid in this amount. I guess what makes me excited about this is that granted it's 2%, it's not a lot of money, but that money is going to stay in Custer County where it belongs.
None of that goes to the state, and that's
No.
all just local.
He assured me that the use tax is not part of what the state collects. They have nothing to do with that.
So they write a check to the county.
What's that?
They write the use tax check to the county.
They have nothing to do with it.
No, the homeowner.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Could I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
I think I heard you say this, I'm not sure what you meant, that if landowner A goes down to, and he's already paid his use tax here, goes to Canyon's 2.9, you said he only pays 2.0, he paid 0.9, right? Because he's already paid the 2 up here.
I don't believe so, but I can I can clarify that. I will
Don't pay any of
clarify
that tax, then 2.9 at all.
Do we have anybody online?
No.
No, at this time.
He didn't join that.
Let me look and see. So I would think that if, no, oh, yeah, we do too. No,
It would be, his name's Brandon.
yeah, we're co-hosting.
Okay. And that could be, I don't believe so. That's not the way he explained it to me, but I'm not gonna say that I'm 100% sure on that.
Well, I would think if they have a receipt to say that they've already paid 2% tax on their estimated expenditures, right? Because it's
Correct.
before the fact, they take this and say, I've already paid 2% for Custer County use tax. So whatever your tax is, they should deduct 2%, right? Or not?
They won't charge the use tax at all then.
That was my understanding, that they would not charge the use tax at all then, because they're from Custer County and that's what our tax is. But I'm gonna clarify that.
I was thinking more like sales tax. Sales tax is totally different than use tax.
I believe so,
Okay.
Yes.
but that's a very good question. I will confirm that with him.
So in this example, this thing is, the use tax is only $45.
And maybe I didn't calculate it correctly. I was
Well, then
doing
I'm
it
just-
this morning, but it's 2% of the $2,000 that I used in the
$40.
example. And I believe that's $45.
It's actually $40.
40? Okay.
So I'm confused.
Okay.
So they come in and pay you a permit fee.
Mhm.
I thought the use tax was charged on anything they bought, not off of the permit fee.
So, the the way that I understand it is, it's going to be considered that when they come in and they purchase their zoning permit from us,
Right.
that's our point of sale.
Mhm.
So then we ask them, what is your anticipated amount of purchases for this building or this septic tank? Then they give me an amount, and that is the point of sale for Custer County because they're buying that permit from us. And that's what,
Okay, so this permit fee in your example of $2,000 would include their projected expenditures for a built-in stove, garage doors, refrigerator, and that.
the $45 or whatever I put on as the
Maybe.
example is, that's the amount.
Maybe what's confusing is it's not a permit fee, it's a use tax. The pure permit fee is what you charge
Well-
for the permit.
Okay. Let me find my.
And this is calling it a
May I-
permit fee here.
So
May I
there's-
interject just
Sure.
for just a second? I think that 2,045 that she has up there is actually, that is the amount of anticipated cost of their supplies.
Uh-uh.
No?
Okay,
Okay.
so, it shows the total amount and then they wrote the check out for 2,045. Gives a permit number, the schedule number. We're issuing one permit. It's for a dwelling. The permit itself, based on the square footage,
Right.
is $2,000.
Okay.
Okay, that
The
is
use
permit.
tax amount of 2% is 45.
Okay.
So
And
their
that came from
total amount
some-
paid was $2,045.
It might make it more clear if I would suggest actually putting on to your anticipated material quantity, kind of 2% would be this amount, so
Yeah.
there's no confusion
that's the-
between the
That,
permit.
that is
You're,
correct.
you're right, because in my rush this morning, I should have put that in here. I don't know that,
Because the use tax wouldn't be on the cost of the permit, but on the
Right.
cost of the material.
It's the,
Right.
yeah, and having
That's what
that
it's gonna be.
value in there, that would be.
You're
helpful.
right.
Absolutely.
very good point.
Yeah, when I built my house, I remember planning and zoning director coming out to finalize that permit, and we went through the house and around the house, said, okay, you have garage doors, we know you can't buy them locally. All your appliances, can't buy them locally. Heating system, can't buy that locally. And, just as an example, those three things, and so I had to show her my receipts and then add those up, multiplied it by 2%, I wrote her a check. The permit fee didn't have anything to do with that.
You didn't pay sales and use tax when you bought them?
I didn't buy any of that stuff, so I can't answer that for sure, but apparently not, because Jackie looked at the receipts and said, okay, so you didn't pay it down there, this is what you owe.
Cause I've never been able to get out of a store without paying the damn sales tax. And I'm calling it sales tax because 90% of the stores call it.
Well, it is a sales tax for them, right?
It is.
It's a use tax for our county.
Okay, so,
I don't remember
I
exactly, Bill.
would doubt if a clerk at Home Depot in Pueblo or Canyon City would have any clue what to do with it.
Or the authority.
Or the
Well-
That's what
authority.
worries me.
I have the word and I didn't print out.
That may
Email.
be something where they would need to go to the contractor desk because they're used to dealing with the wholesalers and that contract.
Maybe.
Sort of like a tax exempt.
They should know how to do that. He assured me this is common practice.
Okay.
So I can't,
Is it similar to if you had a tax exemption certificate, you go into Home Depot, you show that, and then they're able
well, you're
to.
still gonna pay the state tax,
Right.
but you're not gonna pay the city
2%.
tax.
So it's an exemption from the
local tax that they
local
have.
use tax is what
Correct.
it is. And somehow they must know. We got.
And then some, and I've done a little bit of research online and they should know. There's based on, I mean, it can zero right down to your home address, what you should pay.
Bergen. So here in town now, ACE is expanding and you also have central building supply. So things are a little bit more available in town. Does
Mhm.
that change this at all or not really?
I guess it's up to the contractor and the homeowner where they choose to buy their stuff. I can't control that.
Sure.
But I was just I would love to keep our purchases in Custer County.
So it's pretty straightforward. If you buy it up here, the use tax is paid up here.
Yeah.
If you buy it in Pueblo, you gotta have this to not be
Yes.
charged the Pueblo use tax of 2.9.
And I would show them that here too, because they've already paid it. Even if they go, because Ace Hardware is not gonna gain anything off of getting that 2%.
That's true.
So they're paying it
They
up
could-
front, they show it wherever they go to purchase their goods.
So what you're saying is that it's not just like Tom Flowers' example, the things that you can't buy here, it's your total.
Right.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay, so you would need this everywhere you shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you buy it locally,
They've already paid it.
they've
They
already paid
to
it.
me
It's
up
only
front.
if you buy it out of county that you,
That's not what
No.
you're saying.
no,
She's
I'm just saying, if they've already paid the 2% use tax here,
So, but they would-
they don't have to pay it again when they go to the hardware store and buy it.
Right.
So we've always said, if you buy it locally and have done this, right?
Mhm.
Then it's just the out-of-town purchases. Now, if you haven't paid any use tax at all, then yeah, it's for the county, in county and out of county, as I understand it.
She said that if you pay all of it upfront,
Yes,
so you would take this to local as well.
yes, yes, okay.
So you don't get charged twice.
Yeah,
And then
it
at the
might-
end, you get all, then it comes back with the actual cost. It could be more or less than the estimate.
Correct, and I hadn't gotten that far, thank you. So in the end, then when I go do my compliance check, then we would sit down and go through, or they can come in ahead of time, we would sit down and go through the receipts. And, in some cases, it's gonna have to be the honor system. If it's a shed, I'm not gonna sit down and probably go through every single receipt with them. I probably will eventually have a pretty good idea that, hey, they're pretty close, I don't want to sit down and have to go through every single receipt with every individual,
We
but if
shouldn't
I
have.
walk into a $2 million home and they only paid use tax on a $200,000 home, I would hope that I would know enough to sit down with them and then say, hey, let's go through your receipts.
Well, up front, you're gonna be very clear with them. Keep track of your costs, because you're gonna come back and tell me what the actual costs are, so I can charge, you can get charged the actual amount of use tax.
Yes,
And they would be up to them how to bookkeep that, and it seems like that'd be pretty straightforward if they're,
Mhm.
otherwise, if they don't know that, then they gotta remember where all the receipts are that they wadded up in a box somewhere.
Yeah. And we do, we need to communicate better up front. I completely agree.
Now, the first sentence in the use tax in the zoning resolution. County use tax shall be collected on building materials purchased without paying state, county, or city sales tax.
Mhm.
So if you go down to Pueblo and buy something, they would charge you Pueblo sales tax rate
They are gonna charge, if you have your, yes. no,
without this.
Yes.
You
yes.
take this in and say, I've already paid the sales, city or county sales tax in Custer County, which is where this is going. So I don't pay it in Pueblo. Right? That's where you get into it with the clerk saying, well, I don't know anything about that. Right? So I know that's what you were talking about.
And
Then
I
you show them this.
sales tax in Pueblo is 6.9%.
Sales tax different than the
But-
use.
but
tax. You
county-
gotta keep that in mind.
But
Total
county tax,
tax on a purchase in
Right.
Pueblo, and I don't care what you call it,
yeah,
is 6.9.
Right.
Right, you add them all.
But-
So I take this, I only pay 4.9.
right.
That's true.
And to Mary's point, great addition to say right on there, estimated cost of materials times 2% equals,
Yes.
I've already paid that, so take it off of my.
And bill.
Correct.
And, but I don't think Home Depot, Lowe's, clerks
I agree with you.
will understand that, so you go to the contractors.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, maybe
Yeah.
they do understand it.
And Bill, if their county tax is more or less than the 2%, it's only their county tax they're taking off, not 2%.
That's right.
So
They don't pay the 2.9, you just don't pay it.
And I would be willing to put my
Wait a
business card for a while on everybody's receipt so that they know what number to call when they get down there and it don't work.
Pueblo's county tax is different than Custer County.
yeah, it's 1%.
So all they're gonna take off is 1%, not 2.
Right.
But you're mixing it up again. The use tax is 2.9 down there. That's what I heard originally.
He said it was one.
I don't know where one came from, but there's a bunch of taxes that are added up, but the use tax 2.9, ours is 2. You don't pay the 2.9 when you show them this.
So I think we might be confusing some of it is use tax and some of it that's the actual
Okay.
sales.
There's a
tax,
sales
because
tax.
If
there's
you
a
get
fee
something
tax.
delivered to your house, they will charge you Custer County sales tax,
Yes,
That's right.
not Pueblo County.
That's sales tax, not the use.
If you pick it up in Pueblo, they will charge you Pueblo County sales
That's
tax.
Without this.
Because that's your point of
So it's
sale.
not part of that.
The use tax,
So
I think the use tax is a separate.
there's county tax and county use tax.
That's right.
Holy cow.
Yeah, there's a sales.
There's a
tax
fee
and a
tax
use
too. So
tax.
you add them all up,
Sure.
it's 9%.
Taxes, you pay the state sales tax plus the county.
Now, they may
Tax.
both be shown on the receipt as tax 1 and tax 2. Or something like
I've
that.
seen receipts like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does anybody have a receipt from Pueblo? I looked at my billfold. I don't. I took them all out.
I don't, I just, it was in town, I could have brought some.
I think bottom line, we should be able to, I think once we start doing this, we may have some bumps. And like I said, I'll put my business card on each receipt for a while until we get used to it, but the Brandon from the Department of Revenue assured me that this is a common practice. And I think we at least have to give it a try.
Yeah, I agree. Could you also on these receipts just print your name and phone number right on the receipt?
Yeah, I need to see if Vernon can kind of change this up a little bit so I can put the total amount, estimated amount of project or something, and maybe even, then they can even possibly use the, it does give the. Yeah, the zoning, or the permit number is
Right.
their project number, because I know when you go to like Lowe's or something and you're a contractor, they ask for a project number, so.
You put a watermark on these sheets you gave us.
I did.
Custer County seal.
Uh-huh.
Might it not be
Put it on that.
put in on their receipt.
Oh,
so that
yeah, I
Their
wonder.
county seals actually on
so
there.
it's visual. look.
Might help them a little bit as well.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, otherwise you could edit it.
So if I come in and get a zoning permit, to build a house. You're gonna say, now tell me what your estimated construction costs are, or just stuff that I can't buy in the county?
All of the
It's all-
materials that you plan
every bit
on
of
purchasing to build whatever structure you're building.
Okay, as a homeowner or landowner getting ready to build a house, then I would most likely say, okay, I'm estimating 200,000. You're gonna charge me 2% on 200,000, $400. And the minute, $4,000, the minute somebody says you gotta pay state, county, and city tax anywhere, I'm gonna say, no, I don't, because I've already paid that.
No.
Yes, and you need to hang on to your
2%.
receipt. I can give you a
The
new
use tax
receipt.
part.
I can give you a new receipt if you happen to lose that one. You can come in anytime. I can even print it and email it to you. It's gonna be a learning process for the community and for us. We need to be very proactive in educating as they come in and purchase their permits. But I think in the long run, everybody's gonna be excited because they're gonna keep the money in the county.
Have you thought that? I think I mentioned, I mean, it was to Carlin, we've got a neighbor that just purchased land near us. It's gonna be building in 2024. They may come in and get their permit and not start building for a year. But they're gonna end up having to give you, $4,000-6,000 right up front. What if they're unable to really do that right then?
Well, one thing, we encourage an individual, if they're not gonna start excavating or anything, to not buy their permit until it comes time closer to them to
Okay.
start building. And I hear Carlin telling them out that all the time, and I tell them all of that all the time. Because it's a 2-year permit to get dried in and then 1 year to finish. So we try to make sure that they understand that up front, especially if they're from out of town and not planning to build for a while.
And so telling them that they'll have to pay 2% of their materials right when we first correspond with them would be very helpful then.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
So what could happen in that case, which isn't a bad thing, you could always underestimate what you're gonna pay. And then pay it up at the end when you
Yes.
actually have the cost, so. That have made, if you think it's gonna be 250, then I don't really know, I'll just say 2,000 or 200,000, wait to pay the rest later.
Mhm.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
It's just an estimate.
This is just on the materials, not on the labor.
Oh, no.
No, it's not on the labor.
So you gotta
So
say,
you gotta.
$200,000 house,
So when, that's exactly,
100,000 of it is.
when you get your bids from the contractor, they separate out materials, labor.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't, they like to go one big project, now then you got demand, I gotta know the material. And then you know materials change, it could go up and down during the time of the bill.
They do.
So that's why it's good to collect it at the end, to
Mhm.
see what it really is.
I got a quick question. You see by CSC, is that Carlin? You got on here, somebody signs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah, it's Carlin.
All right.
I didn't
just wanted-
change it. It was this morning. I thought, oh, I better do this real quick and
All right,
went in and made a phony receipt.
okay.
Yeah, I pulled it up on the tax.gov, or tax.colorado.gov. Colorado use tax rate is 2.9%,
Colorado?
the same as the sales tax rate in Colorado.
So that, we add them both.
And then Colorado levies a 2.9 sales tax on goods purchased, not intended for resale.
So they pay the 2.9 and the 2%.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, if you take out Colorado and put in Custer County,
Right.
2%,
Mhm.
plus the county sales tax.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I wish you got it was on here.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be. The sales tax comes, I believe, from the state to us, correct?
They collect. it.
Yes, they collect.
Okay, we do not currently get a deposit. and I've checked with Virginia. We do not get a deposit for use tax.
Right.
And
We don't-
he assured
we don't
me,
get it.
correct.
So. This is back to the schematics, but it means dollars. The state has a 2.9% sales tax, correct?
Yes,
The state also has a 2.9% use tax. That's what you just said.
yes.
So are those the same or do they add them together? And I know they don't add them together. The state is just collecting 2.9%. They aren't collecting
They're not collecting the
2.9%
use tax.
twice.
And Brandon explained to me that the state has nothing to do with the use tax side of it. So I'm surprised that
Right.
you're reading it that way and maybe it's.
So,
Now, this is at the state level, I'm not saying county, but
yeah,
That could be the state buying stuff. And for the
Could
state,
be.
I don't know what it means. But I know when we added up what county taxpayers pay here, when we were talking about trying to get Justice Center tax. You also, then at the same time, the cities both added 1%. And without the Justice Center tax, or I think with it, it was gonna be on top of that. But you add up everything up and it made this county the second highest in the state. Because you added all this together.
Mhm.
And so the use tax is part of that, that you add on top.
Yes,
so my understanding has always been, if you paid it somewhere else, you don't have to pay it here. We missed out on that revenue.
that's correct.
Yeah, we're giving it to well.
this is keeping it.
Which I remember those conversations. Well, why would I want to do this? Well, number one, it keeps money in the county. Number two, our use tax rate is lower than the surrounding counties.
That's right.
So it's an advantage to local people to
Yeah.
pay this.
Homeowner.
And that was exactly the way I understood it too.
Yeah.
Until
And
I
if we
spoke to
pay it up front, then that gives documentation to the buyer. It's already been paid, already paid this. Don't need to pay it down there in Pueblo, don't need to pay it in Canyon.
So they can't charge, if they have a use tax of higher than 2%. And you pay the 2% here, use tax. You paid your use tax. they aren't gonna charge you the difference?
I'm
Oh.
that is my understanding, yes.
Right.
And I'm gonna validate
And
that.
it could go the other way. Think about it. If it was a 1% tax, we'd be paying higher here.
Yeah.
You don't, you're just not paying that 1%, but we gotta pay 2% stays here.
Yeah. When I buy materials at Big R in Pueblo West, that's where I go, because I can't afford to buy it in Pueblo. You pay a 2.9% sales tax to the state.
Mhm.
You pay 1% to Pueblo County, you pay 1% to Pueblo West Metropolitan District. That just went on a year ago. So your cost is 2.9%. Or 4.9% total. If you buy it in Canyon City, it's gonna cost you 7.4%, and Pueblo is 6.9.
And
So you're not gonna gain a whole lot by
pulled
going,
it up
because you
here.
go to
that Colorado
Big R. What
itself
you're gonna
has no
gain
use
is you're
tax.
gonna keep that money in your
That's
county
right.
instead of paying it Pueblo West.
If I could find the material at the same price up here as I can in Pueblo West,
I understand that.
which I can't.
I just want clarification. So page 58 of the zoning resolution regarding use tax. Does this indicate that this became a resolution in 1993? Because it says Custer County Resolution 93-4. And are you saying that it's never been collected?
I think we were collecting it,
I paid
but
it
not
last time, too.
consistently. I'm not trying, I
Yeah.
just think, I just want to look forward.
Sure.
I do believe that
Well, that's
there
a
was
lot of money off the
opportunity.
table that we lost if it's not been collected since then. And then with the new policy, I would assume that 8.3 just has to be slightly adjusted because it is saying that the tax must be paid by January 20th.
Yeah, and I
If
would,
it's under,
If it's done.
I have kind of an example and I did make extra copies of, I kind of did a rough draft for everybody to look at it as to how we could change the verbiage. And I'm open to any suggestions on how you guys want it written. I think this simplifies it quite a bit and makes it a little bit more clear.
Maybe just as a suggestion, receipts are great. But really you're asking for proof of purchase, and proof of purchase can be different ways. You can say I purchased X and here's what the cost was. By a summary, it could be higher. Rather than put the burden on them to collect their things, add it together. All you need is a proof that they did it
Mhm.
and then use them. In lieu of all of the receipts.
Yeah,
So you're saying just rely on them to write down the information accurately instead of actually submitting the receipt?
No, you'd have the receipts it's sort of like your taxes. You don't submit your receipts when you pay the taxes. You just add them up. The CPA does all that. And you have to have the proof there.
I think initially it's gonna be on their honor and giving us the correct information.
It's all on their honor anyway.
Yeah, it really is, because
I always cheat on my tax.
Everybody pushes the envelope. It's all pushed in.
For you, yeah.
But see, the beauty of this is though, like you said, in the end, it's gonna be whatever it was, whether it's higher or lower than the estimate. So just
in the way I look at it, it's on their honor and at least we're getting something.
and you're getting it.
Better
You,
than nothing.
yeah. You're getting.
so your second sentence, the owner is obligated to pay use tax on materials purchased outside the county and or delivered to a property within the county.
But it's actually any material, not.
It's all materials.
That's what I'm saying, even if they purchased it in the county, do they still need to pay the use tax?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're correct.
So you're defining what the use tax is based on. It's anything you buy either in county or out of county. subject to the Custer County use tax of 2%.
They would just put
You can get rid of
tax,
everything after
yeah,
purchase.
Right,
exactly.
we don't need to over.
Because right now,
Yeah.
Just per-
our local
It's just
businesses
purchase
do
any
not
material.
collect a county use tax at the point of sale.
Right.
Right,
Stop
nobody,
it.
nobody does. So that would cover everything. It's just your,
What?
Because the business is actually, well, if you're going to Pueblo, that Pueblo must be collecting the use tax.
Yes.
they are,
But none of our businesses are here.
but they're getting it, and we're not.
Yeah,
And our business is probably due the 2% here.
Sure. It's called.
So we don't get it.
It's part of the, right, we're not getting it.
well, the sales tax is totally different than the use tax. So if they're charging the sales tax, that's going to the state and then getting dispersed back to the use tax.
Goes into
I'm
the
gonna say
pocket.
our businesses are not collecting that at all. Because we've never seen anything
That's the
from
point.
that.
And so if they're charging 2% at
We
Ace,
haven't,
they're
we need
keeping
to
the
figure out where
2%.
that's been going.
That's
So
right.
bet you anything, they're collecting it.
Stays with Ace
I haven't got that far, but
if they're
we
charging.
need to figure out where that's been going.
Because then if they are paying, if they're buying up here and ended up paying it, then we need to make sure we're not double dipping.
Correct.
Or the,
But if they have their receipt, then they're not going to pay it here, even if they buy it here. Going
If
forward,
they're collecting it here.
I bet you they are, but I wish I had a receipt so we could see.
Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't matter. We'll have to figure,
you know,
I think there's a
but-
lot more to figure out as we go, but
think it through. What he's saying is right. If they're charging for it, it's sitting somewhere. And in this case, it's sitting in the cash register at Ace. I don't know where it goes from there. Do
right.
they send it in it? Where do they send it?
Because Brandon told me that they do not deal with the use.
And
tax.
maybe they're not, maybe the Ace doesn't have a 2% at all. I don't know.
It's broken out, you say.
Yeah, I don't have. how-
So, as I understand it too, we have our county sales tax is 2.9%. The state sales tax is 2%.
No,
No,
the other way. State is
Sorry.
2.9.
Just backwards, you're right.
We're
We're
two and state is-
2.9, they're 2.0.
no, we're 2%.
We're 2%.
We're
County
2%
sales
and the
tax.
state is 2.9.
If you go to buy something, like something, I purchased some books out of state. And then they give you a list of all the states. They say that Colorado sales tax is 2.9%.
Yeah.
We have to pay.
Yes, I,
Now, typically, but there is, if you go to the store here, you're paying more than 2.9% on your.
yeah, you're paying 1% for Westlake, you're paying 2.9 for the state, you're paying 2% for the county.
Yeah.
And then there's a
Very
use tax
confusing,
that
huh?
yeah,
should be.
Yeah,
collected.
yeah.
2.9 for the state sales tax, 2% for county sales.
Well, and the existing verbiage in the use tax in our resolution is confusing as well because it starts off as county use tax shall be collected by the planning and zoning office. And then, if it's purchased without paying state and or county and or city sales tax. So I'm reading that to say if our local taxes are being paid, they don't have to pay the use tax.
Correct. That's the way I've always understood.
And it says if insufficient sales tax has been paid, then if insufficient sales tax has been paid, then use tax is due.
And so that use tax is, the way it's written now, that use tax is going to wherever you bought it.
So,
Yes, we're not getting
that's
any of
right.
that.
So,
That's right.
so if you add it all up, 1% for the town, 2% for the county, 2.9 for the state is 5.9, and 2% for use tax makes it 7.9.
And
And we would collect the 2 point for the 2.
The 2%.
what is the sales tax rate on? Well, in the town? What is the tax load?
Do we have an additional?
If it was 1% was whatever they were charging before they raised it, must be 2%.
I'll look it up.
I didn't believe.
I didn't add, that's true. I don't know what the actual town, I just know they added 1% in this last election above whatever they were charging, which I think was 1%.
And I thought the last time we
It's not just
voted
BBC.
on a tax increase, it was called sales and use.
Maybe it was.
And I think the first one was also called sales and use.
And we're
So they're
2%.
I'm starting to come around to that.
Yeah, the city total rate is 7.9.
That's what I came up with.
And so anything
Good job.
purchased,
Outside of,
What if it's not materials? Why are we paying use tax on non-material?
You don't, you're not supposed
So,
to.
so that means that the stores are defining what the material, what's a material and what's
See,
not.
food
Well,
tax, you don't pay.
And by the zoning resolution, the planning and zoning office defines what is considered building material.
So
West-
if I go and buy bug spray at Ace, am I only paying 5.9?
Well, it's in the
I'm paying
bid.
7.9.
You shouldn't be paying the,
It's in the city. So
wherever the city says that.
West
that's
Cliff
right.
tax rate's 3%. 2.9 for state, 2 for county, 3 for West Cliff, for a total of 7.9.
Right. So that, and then if we add, so our use tax gotta be
So
in
where
there
does
somewhere.
that 2 from the county go? 'Cause
Well,
that is
you're gonna
sales
think,
and use tax.
that's exactly
That's
what
why
I was
I
gonna
say.
say. I believe that 2%
it's combined in the,
is sales use tax name. And we get that 2%.
I think we need to count that.
So if it's a separate, then maybe it's 1% for use and 1% for sales for the county. I don't know. We gotta figure out what that 2% is.
so this was to. This was to collect the county's use tax on items purchased outside of county. I think is what this
I agree.
On- on the-
8.3 was put in place for, it wasn't?
Yeah.
Because we have a sales/use tax
Cause we weren't
here,
collecting.
and if they go to Pueblo, we do not get our
We
2%.
do not.
And
That's what I always thought, that it was only for out of county purposes.
But you're not gonna be able to collect that unless you do it up front.
Right, and have a receipt so
Okay.
they can, they're
So
protected.
be real clear then. You need to find out, you're not proposing any tax increase here.
No.
Make sure that's clear to everybody. And so somewhere in the current tax structure where it's 2% in the county, we gotta figure out, is that 1% for sales and 1% for use in the county? I don't know. But the use tax is whatever it is, not necessarily 2%. See what I'm saying? Because where is it today? There is supposed, like Bill's saying, there's a combined county and, or use and sales tax, apparently. Just buying stuff at a county rate, delivered here, like Kevin was saying, it's delivered, gets 2%. Now, there's part of that's a use tax that we're not collecting. Right. So it's not the whole 2% if there's a sales tax. Are we collecting the sales tax as a county tax or not?
Sales tax should be different, separate.
Well,
from the
that's,
use tax.
I don't, it doesn't add up to
Doesn't
sort of thing.
work. There used to be no sales tax in Custer County. Okay.
Maybe there's.
Then when Joe Reed was commissioner, and I don't know the date, but that's when he proposed a 1% sales tax. And it was voted on and it was, here's the part that has always pissed me off, pardon me, but it was 1% sales tax that was supposed to be designated for road and bridge. Something happened in the wording of the ballot issue that when it was passed, it had to go into general fund. It couldn't be specified. So, okay, you have 1% sales tax. Then the last time we voted on an increase in sales tax, in sales and use tax, I think, for another 1%. So we ended up with 2%, and I think it's sales and use because
That makes sense.
But
So-
you know, I don't know what the,
So maybe it's just 1% is the use tax.
It's a 2% use tax.
Well, we say county tax at 2%.
Yeah.
What is the 2%? Is it a use tax?
but if you want to get around the technicalities, you just take the county tax is
Right.
2% on sale.
So that's the use tax.
That was
Gotta be
my
use
point,
tax. If it's sales, it's different.
because it's being charged on anything, not just
Yeah.
materials, so it's.
It's charged
If
on
it's everything, that's a sales
That's a
tax.
sales tax.
So where is the use tax that
There
we
isn't
should have been
any.
collecting? Maybe there wasn't any.
I think there's not.
And we sure can't propose another tax in here of 2%.
No.
No.
And the Department of Revenue guy, I wish he was here.
Right.
Can we call him up? You got a
We've
number?
never,
He had a 10 o'clock meeting, so I don't know. He had told me that, but I
Well-
really thought he would call in.
so the other thing is, we're not proposing anything. It's been in the resolution.
Yes.
To collect 2% use tax.
So that's.
Where does it say 2%?
In her proposal.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
not
original.
here.
Right.
It doesn't say the amount, no, but it is. Our county, our use tax is 2%.
And it looks like you're adding.
Where do you see,
There can't-
where's that?
It's gotta be part of some tax somewhere. 7.9 is actually what it is for combined taxes, and Custer County is only 2%. So what is that 2%?
Does the treasurer knows these?
I'm gonna go ask her.
Kelly
Yeah.
might know also.
I'll ask. both.
You know, it's always been my understanding that, to Kevin's point, the use tax was to be collected on material bought outside of the county.
Right.
It would really be, I think, the county sales tax should be collected on anything bought outside of the county.
It is.
To me, it's one and the same.
I agree.
It's revenue coming to the county
Yeah.
from people buying stuff outside of the county.
If I'm not a tax evader, I'm a tax avoider. So if I buy something from Home Depot in Canyon City, I pay whatever their sales tax is. If I buy something from Home Depot over the phone on the internet system, I pay 4.9% sales tax and they deliver it to me.
And then you should be paying a 2% use tax if it's building material.
This is, Jim just pulled this off. of
No,
the
I've already
Colorado.
paid it. The 2.9% is county, or the 2% is county, 2.9%. State.
So Jim just pulled this off of the Colorado website, the Colorado state. So in Custer County, I should have brought this myself. We pay Custer County sales tax rate is 2%.
Yeah.
The service fees that are allowed that can be added to our tax is 3.33%. Use tax rate is 2%, and that use tax is defined for motor vehicles and building materials are the only things that you add the 2% on.
So the use tax is just an additional tax that builders or motor vehicles have to pay. So it has nothing to do with the sales
It
tax.
has nothing to
It's
do
an
with.
additional tax that's always been in place, but hasn't been.
Never been.
Correct. It's always been in place, but we always have allowed our purchases to have to be paid in a different county.
And I don't think we charge it here in Custer County ever.
No.
I don't think so.
I think maybe, I'm hoping Ace does, and, but I don't know.
Let's call Ace.
But
So,
that's up to them, you know, we need to figure out how we can collect it.
and so I asked Google, which knows everything, what is the difference between sales and use tax? And it is saying that the purpose of the use tax is supposed to protect in-state retailers against unfair competition from out-of-state sellers that aren't required to collect tax. It also ensures that all of the state's residents help fund state and local programs and services regardless of where they shop. It is often difficult to enforce. That's because it's up to consumers to report and pay the use tax. This means governments end up losing a chunk of revenue to goods purchased in areas where no sales tax is collected. So
Thank
you're
you.
trying to fix
Fill that
this.
gap,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Correct, thank you.
So
Well,
if
it
we
has
have
been.
not been
I don't, it
paying it,
really has nothing to do with our
so
state.
you're actually adding
You're
2%.
2%.
No, I'm not at, they're
Okay.
paying
It's always
more,
been there.
they're paying 2% or more if they go somewhere else, most likely. Cause
If we go back to that stuff purchased out of county, it's not adding, it's substituting our 2%. So that they don't get that 2%.
correct,
If they are actually charging it.
Right.
well, they are everywhere in other counties. When you go to that register, they're gonna charge you whatever
Their
their
county
register set up for to charge and that wherever you're purchasing it at.
Sure.
But we're changing it to our register to say, we're gonna collect it up front and give you this receipt to show that you've already paid that.
And I
portion.
believe, I don't know what Pueblo's county tax is. Let's
Preble
say,
County is 1%, the county tax.
okay. If it was 3%, I would say you take this rate in or this receipt in, they're gonna charge you the difference between what their rate is, 3%, and you've already paid 2%, so we're gonna charge you 1%. I don't know that.
You're gonna pay the state sales tax, because that has to be paid.
Yes.
The
But if
two,
the county tax where you're buying the stuff is higher than 2%, I'll bet you're gonna have to pay the difference.
so let's use Fremont County as an example. The county sales rate for Fremont County is 2.5. The service tax is the same as ours, 3.33. Their use tax is 2.5. So if I go buy building materials over there right now, if I don't show them a receipt, I'm paying that additional 5%.
But Bill just said that they're not charging it.
What?
You said that they were only charging you 4% total.
That is 4.9.
Yeah.
That way, that is internet sales.
No, when you went and bought materials in Pueblo West, what was the total?
Oh,
Theirs is the
There-
same as ours, so he's not gaining much, we're not he
Theirs
would just
is-
keep the 2%.
I didn't hear what you-
Pueblo West, you pay 2.9% state sales tax. And 1% Pueblo County tax, sales tax, and 1% Pueblo West Metropolitan District sales tax.
So I don't believe that
4.9.
they're charging a use tax.
We should be.
I don't disagree with that. I just think that it's just not being enforced.
And I don't think it ever does.
Well,
Well, it has to-
I paid use tax on everything I bought to build my house that was not bought in Custer County. So Jackie had been doing it. We have not heard in 5 years one word about use tax since I've been a commissioner. Which means I don't think she's charged or collecting it. And I don't think
Oh,
Dorothy believes that, looking at the paperwork in that office.
I
That's
agree.
their statement.
That's a fair statement. I think there's things that we can do different going forward.
And that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Is maybe fix some of the things that were just. Kind of ignored.
Yes,
Paying. Because you gotta, getting into those, you get a bunch of receipts and all that.
Yeah, but if her proposed process works, I said, I'm gonna need $200,000 to build my house. Okay, you pay your use tax up front. Take this receipt, you don't have to pay that county tax down there.
correct.
It's use tax /
Sales.
effect on sales tax,
Okay.
because I've already paid it. We're not adding the two, we're paying it up front, so we don't have to pay it somewhere else. That's the way I look at it.
And the important thing is that you're keeping it in the calendar.
Correct.
Okay, I got from the horse's mouth. I had a whole room full of revenuers having a meeting. So I had Braden and Lisa and JD and Kelly. So here's how it really works. Yeah, she's here and sounds healthy. The problem is, it's the same tax called the use tax or a sales tax, okay? That's up in here in Westcliff, ACE charges a sales tax. It's not a use tax, it's a sales tax, it's at the point of where it's being used as a sales, okay? So you can't do what we thought you could do, and that's get 2% from ACE. And that they're not collecting the use tax, they're collecting the sales tax. What you get in Pueblo is the sales tax down there at 2.9, whatever it is.
It's a use tax when you're using it up here. So they will not charge the 2.9 sales tax in Pueblo. You pay for it, the 2% once it's used up here, then we can collect 2% of that. It's automatically collected in the taxes for the county. So we're getting the use, if it's bought up here, it's already a use tax. That comes to the county for normal sales tax on the buildings you build. That's,
Then that is not what anybody in this courthouse has told me.
well, that's what
Went around to
JD.
Every building, everybody.
JD, he said it's confusing because it's a sales tax. Because it's being used up here, it's a sales tax and it's used. But if it's bought in Pueblo and it's gonna be used up here, then they won't charge that sales tax that they would normally charge down there, 2.9%.
And they need the receipt to show them that.
They need the fact is, yeah, whatever it is, that's correct.
Okay.
But we don't get to collect the 2% here from, it's already collected.
Wow.
So
that's
If
a
they
big
buy stuff
deal.
up here in Westcliff, it's already.
Then where does that 2% go? Because when I
Because
went
it goes
into
into your
Virginia's
tax.
office, I was told there's nothing there.
There isn't, it's that it comes in as the tax on your normal sales tax. It's a county
It will
sales.
go
tax.
to the state and then back to the
That's
county.
that's exactly right.
So what you're saying,
We've already
I'm
collected.
gonna reiterate here and tell me if I'm right. So when they go down there and they have this receipt
Mhm.
and they pay our 2% instead of 2.9, they're charging them the same way as if they went down and ordered a truckload
Right.
of materials and they delivered it. and
Right,
they
instead of,
charge them the custom
you got
fee.
this to negate the sales tax and
So-
down there. So
And
we
that
collected,
is-
we do get to collect money that we haven't been collecting because it's been going to Pueblo sales tax.
Correct.
And they're paying actually more because you're wasting money, right? So it's good to have this, take it down there, and then when they come back, all they're being charged is 2%.
And they should be able to do that same thing here. If they go to Ace, they
No.
just won't charge them that.
When you buy, that's right, when you buy at Ace, you're just paying the county sales tax, which
Which
is what
we
it is.
get anyway.
That's what we get
And
anyways.
conversely, if I go to Pueblo and buy my garage doors and I pay state,
Yes.
county, city sales tax, I'm not gonna pay it again up here.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's
You
right.
just missed out as a county.
And that's right.
I
You,
agree.
you
And
pay
that's
more
what's
than
been
you have.
happening a lot.
That's what's happened. And so this is a good thing. We get a lot more now because the building materials. You know, although Ace has gotten a lot better and there's another building supply up here, but that all gets paid for as our 2% sales tax. That's the use. right
So
here.
this would be changed to, how much do you think you're gonna buy outside of the county?
No,
Well,
well, yeah,
Yeah.
you would, yeah, I guess you would because
That's
appliances.
the way I've always understood.
Yeah, that's the way it
Out
should
of the
be.
County, because if you buy it in county, you're already paying.
Already paying.
We call it a county sales tax.
Makes
But I
better.
think
But it's
it's the
being
same
used
as the
here.
county use tax.
That
For
I
JD,
understand.
yeah. So that's gonna be a little more difficult because, sometimes you're in a bind and you buy, but it's not that hard. Shoot, you know when you went and bought stuff in Pueblo.
well, yeah.
It'll save.
And if you overestimate it or underestimate, it doesn't matter
Right,
because you
right.
get to reconcile it at the end of the bill.
Correct.
Okay,
And if they charge it, if you go and order a load delivered in
that's the way.
and they charge our county tax,
Paid
that
for.
is supposed to be sent into the state credited.
Yeah, it's already
And
paid for.
sometimes they will do that too. They will charge.
Oh, they
our
do.
county tax.
You save money because their taxes, their taxes are higher.
Yeah.
Than Custer County.
And they used exactly what we wrote down, 2.9 state, 2% county, and 1% town, or whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah,
3% now.
See,
It's
the
actually
motor vehicle
3%.
department has been doing it for years.
yeah.
Yeah.
They got their act together. If you go buy a car in Fremont County, you don't pay the Fremont County sales tax.
No,
Right.
You pay the county sales tax when you come in here and get your license.
right.
Yeah.
Or you
So-
And that's
register.
exactly the example he used.
Yeah. So that makes
That I
sense.
from-
Yeah.
And we are gonna collect more money because a lot of stuff's bought out of the county, especially appliances.
But
A
you
lot of
won't
it.
be collecting very much in your office. Well, if you do this and they pay it up front, you will be.
Yeah.
Try to get it back.
Right. And if you don't, then you go to, just like it says in your proposal, you're gonna go to their house, say, show me your receipts for your garage doors, your appliances.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Septic systems.
But they've
you'll
already
make a little
paid,
money.
in that case, if they pay after the fact,
No,
then they've already paid down
Right.
there.
so you can't charge them again.
Right.
Can't charge
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
You
saying.
just
we
lose
have
it.
to
The
do
county
up
loses.
front. Correct.
But if they paid us up front and
Correct.
they didn't spend that much, then we have to refund them the difference.
That's right.
I would imagine so, yes.
Yes, we would.
Yes,
And then
Which is
you'll get into refund.
Which means that Virginia or whoever, where Braden was gonna have to book it so that all that money stays in a pot so that you can be sure you have the money to reimburse people.
yes.
Okay.
The
And you'll
attorney-
learn quickly
Yeah.
what you can and can't get here.
Definitely.
What if I go down and buy a refrigerator tomorrow in Pueblo?
And then they don't let them charge the sales tax. You pay the sales tax up here.
Well, he was talking
Oh,
about it.
on your normal stuff,
Yeah.
Well, and
get them to deliver it. That's all you can do.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that's right.
And the refrigerator would count if you're doing your initial build, but I don't believe that it counts after the fact.
Right.
That's right.
Replace it.
And
Yeah,
it was
citizens
only
can ask for it to be delivered.
It's only
built-in appliances, not just any appliance, built-in appliances.
built in.
No, it's
Very good.
That's what it
That's what it
says.
says.
Oh, that, that's,
If your stove is a
yeah.
synthetic stove, it's not taxed. That's not first.
Okay, so,
But
then,
if it's built in,
but you better buy it and have it shipped in here. if it's
The washer
pre-paid.
dryers wouldn't count,
No.
refrigerators wouldn't count, garage doors, that was a big one for me, garage
Garage
doors
doors.
and built-in appliance.
yeah.
So if they're
Anything
delivered
I
up
couldn't
here.
buy in the county.
Sure.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how you write it
Yeah, you'll have
up. Write it up and we'll see.
Rewrite it again.
Well, the
that.
contractor, the two members,
What's that?
the contractor, like,
You know, I've talked to a lot of them and a lot of them have told me, you know, I used to do that, but I thought we stopped doing that. So I really don't think we're gonna have
Not
an
gonna be a
issue
big
with
deal.
them. I think it's gonna be the education up front when they come get their permit.
Get your receipts when you buy out of the county. That's all you gotta.
Correct.
Or
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
proof of purchase is a better way.
Correct. Yep.
Very good.
And you know, I can sit with Carlin and we'll come up with some little verbiage that she can give and, I think we'll be fine.
Is your gentleman John Rice? Is your gentleman's name John Rice?
No,
You got somebody done right. So
John Rice is on here.
I think he's on for, later item on the
Oh, okay.
agenda, I believe.
we better get to your agenda.
Okay. If we're good with this, I'm gonna move on. All right. The next thing on our list is to see how to bring county, planning and zoning digital. I would what if we had a fire? That's, I go to bed every night praying that we don't have a fire, because if we had a fire, we'd lose everything. What would we do? Like, we would have nothing in there. Hopefully some of them file cabinets are fireproof, but I kind of doubt it.
You got a hand up for
Everything
this.
we
Did I
do
miss it?
in planning and zoning is on paper. Nothing is, we do our permitting and then we print it out. So it has all the details, is pretty much in our filing cabinet.
And some of those files are a mess anyway.
Thank-
Things are all out of order.
Yes,
What are you thinking about
and
doing?
sometimes I
Getting
walk
scanned
in there and
and
it's like,
digitized?
there's no file with that schedule number on it.
And I
Where did it go?
Other planning commissions that have gone digital.
Planning and zoning.
Yes, and
From
I
other
can-
It's not
counties.
like a new concept. going
no,
digital.
Elmo, we're one of the only ones that I've gone online and looked at that have not moved to going digital.
Well, so it's kind of the same process with finances, like with Donna, you weren't digital, and now with Braden,
Yes.
he's changing the system.
Kelly
Yes.
switched all of her stuff.
Actually, the
And I
state
think
made it
it's
switch.
digitizing.
Yeah.
Instead of digitalizing, but
Okay.
So you got a
I believe that
proposal?
said
How are we gonna do it? Are you
What's
just asking, are you just bringing this up to consider, or what do you have proposed? You got a proposal?
I do. I have a couple options, and so I'd like to discuss the different options. So the pros that are listed here are for like the top of the model, a Cadillac model. And I've gotten a couple quotes from different companies, and I'll tell you, my heart really was going with Q Public upstairs, because they use that upstairs, and I thought, okay, we're all used to using Q Public. That would be great. The public's used to using it,
Hmm.
but they're very, very expensive, and I'll get to that.
Hand out
But
to them.
what's Q Public?
Q Public is, where you can go in and put like your address and it'll bring up your parcel.
Yeah.
Or you
these
can-
guys just right off that, you go in there.
Yeah, it'll show the taxes and everything. And they're a great company, because I talked to JD and he's like, you know, he gave me the guy's name, he highly recommends them. But after talking to this last company that I spoke to, I'd like to really, when I get to it, I'll tell you why I would like to go with them. And it's mainly cost. Because I don't know that we can afford Q Public in the form that would help planning and zoning. I think there are counties out there in the country that is using Q Public, but for the price that they have, that they're offering, I don't see that it's the best option for us. But going digital would give us the opportunity for the public to have the option to go online and look at their permits. That potential buyers outside of state or local can go on and research properties, see what the permitting process has been for that particular property. The realtors could easily go in and look at the information to help assist their buyers. We'd eliminate, I don't know how many phone calls into the planning and zoning office, I believe. I really believe that would make a big difference for us, because I'll tell you, all day long, that's what I'm doing, is picking up the phone, and so is Carlin, and they're like, I'm looking at this property, can you tell me this about the septic? So we go manual, get up, pull the file. First, we look it up on Q Public, go pull the file, bring it out, put that person on hold for a while, pull it out, and you know, you got to take a second to look at the file to make sure you know that you know what you're talking about, and you're not giving them misinformation. So then we're giving them that, whatever information they have, we go put the file back. I mean, it's a very tedious process, and it kind of puts us in a position where, you know, what if we pulled the wrong file and we gave the wrong information? Wouldn't have been on purpose, but could they sue us for that if they bought that property and it wasn't really the case? So, I mean, that's probably far-fetched, but I think that's something we need to consider. It'll definitely reduce current, I already said that.
So how do we go forward? What is
Okay.
your thoughts? So you're gonna propose this as
Cons or
part of your
cost?
budget for next year? We discuss it?
Yes. Or if I can come up with that use tax before the end of the year, can I have it
Well,
now?
the $25. So the
Do it
65, yeah.
69, but hey, wait till you see next.
That's
month.
one file, one page, and you can.
Wait
go do
till
it.
you see next month's report.
Okay, but you're putting it into your office and taking it out of the general fund. Because that's been reimbursed to the general fund by.
Oh, you're talking about this use tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be how it works. She'll have to,
Yeah.
it'll have to be a separate thing to keep track of this
Yeah.
use tax.
It will.
Get to the bottom one, what are the numbers?
Okay, so the different, yeah, I'll move forward. If we went with, there's a place called Access Gov. Really, the only thing they give us is to permit or do our permits online, do credit card processing. It's not a platform that's gonna give me the storage that I'm going to need. I looked into Cloud Print. They're basically all just online storage. It gives $2,500 annually. Q Public is the one that I was really looking into. They have two different options. They have an online storage option, but it doesn't give us a lot of the perks. It gives us them the access to look at permits, the public to look at permits going forward. It isn't like they would have access to looking at everything in the back end.
So none of this is scanning what we have and digitizing what we have, or is
It's good. None of it includes.
so it's
that
going
part of it.
forward from here forward.
It's going forward.
So
but
what
I
are you
have a-
proposing to do with our old records?
My proposal for that is I've talked to Troy Baumgardner at the school, and he was excited that we could potentially offer 2 internships, and I may be using the wrong term for that.
Work
but-
study or something?
Work study, thank you. For 2 students to come, maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and do a work
Not a bad
study with
idea.
us. So, and
They
I,
would scan in all those.
yes, yeah. And I guess that's kind of a question up in the air, because I was gonna plan on budgeting that cost to pay them. And
Could we-
Troy's suggestion was not to pay them, at least to start out with, make sure that they work out, they're gonna show up every day, they're gonna, this is really what they want. So I would probably suggest that we follow
Yeah,
Troy's
good idea.
recommendation.
Sure.
And then Jordan, who is part of the school board, said that he would help me in that process. So I was kind of excited that
Do
he
you have
was,
room to put somebody someplace to do this?
at the copier.
In the
I
basement.
don't have
Bill.
room, really. No. They're gonna be standing at the copier pretty much probably the whole time that they're with
Been.
us.
Okay.
And just
You can
scanning
do
it in.
your office.
They could come in my office and work with me, yeah.
Okay.
So big picture, you gotta keep thinking big picture in during the transition. So you're gonna have somebody calls in for old records, you're gonna have that, manage that, and then if you're gonna have to search two databases now, a new one and then the old one to go. It's gonna be a little more labor intensive in the transition.
Or we
You're totally.
Or we keep the files as is, and until we're completely digital, then we transform, you know,
You have to be, you always use the old copies until, even if they're digitized, not getting into that right now.
Yeah. I'd like
You have
to-
to come up with a proposal of some kind.
Okay. Yep. I think maybe we could say schedule numbers this through this, maybe all schedule numbers that start with 100. When we get to that point, we could post to the public and say, hey, look at our new site. You can go on now. If the schedule number's 100, anything, then
If your
it's online.
property's there.
And then we get to 101, then we can, you know, say, hey, all of these are out there. And then 102, then we would be completely
Yeah.
digital.
Schedule numbers change on a particular piece of property, and how do you keep track of that?
That's a challenge
That's a
I've learned.
challenge. So
You-
somebody's
you-
gonna have a schedule number. And it might be valid now or not.
We would have to be able to have the option to go in and change those schedule numbers. So for example, if I vacate a lot line, then possibly one schedule number goes away because it all goes into one. So then we would have to go in and do some maintenance and bring all those files over into
The news.
schedule, or sometimes in the assessor's office, they make schedule number A and then it turns into B if they subdivide a property.
Okay.
Or also
We just
maybe
gotta
in the
work-
search engine that could be the older, the other schedule numbers that were included.
And
Could be in it.
I didn't realize this until just that came up on something we were looking at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's been a challenge. I think that we have a little running list of missing files, and I think that's what it is. I don't think it's that we're missing files. I think it's that we haven't always been kept in the loop when somebody makes an adjustment to their lot or lots. And so we need to make sure that we're merging those files and making.
Yeah, they're
it all
not
make
coupled
sense.
necessarily today.
Yeah,
What does TT stand for on your?
totally.
Totally.
Okay.
So the geo permits is the first one, the Q Public, that's just a basic platform, kind of similar to what JD uses,
Mhm.
just has a little bit more options for
Which
us.
one's that?
The Cadillac, the Q Public,
Oh, it is.
the geo permits is Q Public still, but just a different branch of their department, and that was the one I was gonna ask you guys for, but honestly, I think that's too much money. After speaking to a couple of the other options that we have, granted, it is definitely the Cadillac of online permitting. But I think to start out with, we should maybe look at the option on the back page, and it's iWorks. I talked to that gentleman in Lee just this morning before I came in, and Alamosa uses iWorks, Chaffey County uses iWorks, and there's I believe four other counties, but I don't remember their names off the top of my head that use iWorks. So what I would like to do when I'm down in Alamosa doing my training is to maybe, if I can carve out some time to go over to their building department and spend a little bit of time with them and observe their system.
How long have
and
they had it, How long ago did they transition?
Them, I'm not
Years ago,
sure.
or-
They've been on it for a little bit, for a while.
History.
Chaffey County has been on it for 3 months, and they went to
Don't
Alamosa,
use
sat
them.
and observed the system.
Don't use them.
Chafee County. They don't have a clue yet.
That's right.
Well, I'm hoping Alamosa can,
They've wrung the bugs out of it. You can get some lessons learned.
yeah. But this system offers almost everything that the Premier Q Public platform offers, but you can tell it much much lower price.
Dorothy, how long has iWorks been in business?
I don't know that. That's a very good question. And I just connected with this gentleman again this morning, so, and it was a quick conversation before I came in here. But I was very impressed in what he had to say. I would like to, if this is the direction we're considering going, set up a demo where we could all sit and he would go through it. He offered to do that. He wasn't available at short notice,
I
but
think that's an excellent idea. I used to implement software in my previous life. And so I have lots and lots of questions.
I would love for you to be part of that demo.
I would like to help with the whole thing.
Okay.
End up doing that. Like I said, I've implemented software a lot globally.
That would be
Multiple
wonderful.
sites,
That
so.
would be interesting. You got a good point. Have they been in
Yes.
business long? iWorks kind of implies Apple to me.
Is
Is
this a company in Logan, Utah?
Honestly, I don't know where they're out of.
Well, I work Systems Inc., Logan, Utah.
Very well could be.
Well, I think,
Yes, I remember my question. If you went with iWorks.
Mhm.
And at some point, we outgrew them or we got dissatisfied with them. With their information transfer to somebody else.
That's another problem.
I would guess we would
Yeah.
have.
I would guess that it would to some extent, yes. Like we may need to
You
have
just,
somebody redo the forms to have it fit their format, but
it's just mapping and
Yes.
files. We'll make sure that they have that implemented so that if they go defunct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you're not able, let's make sure that the source is open so that we could be able to do that. You can also link other databases to them if it's open. So it's very important.
mhm, mhm.
Their website, and I recommend going on it. They were quite successful here. It's iworq.com. And based on this, it just looks like there's a lot of room for growth in a lot of different areas of county management.
they're a new company. Probably.
I'm gonna look for that. It's quite an extensive website.
A good salesman is great. but
Dorothy, it's time for some more sugar. You're taking the energy.
I'm
out
trying to
of it.
keep us going.
Bill, there are some Mr. Goodbars over here.
Oh, I'm gonna come back.
So Mary,
Didn't I put a couple?
yes, I think you would probably find the website.
I will spend time on it.
Yeah,
I would appreciate any feedback with that, because I'm trying to do some of these projects and trying to keep up with the day-to-day and
No,
any
this is
feedback.
great. And they've been around since 2001.
Oh, that's
And it says they are the leading provider of business critical workflow software that runs the day-to-day operations of nearly 2,000 city and county governments across all 50 states in Canada. So they've been
workflow's
around,
awesome.
so they've been around for 20 years.
I felt very good in talking to him this morning.
Yeah.
The workflow may not be included in this quote though. And you may not want to start there anyway. You know, let get your stuff
Somebody's
in
gonna have
there
to.
and
Yeah.
then, because we implemented workflow after about 3 years. You gotta get used to everything without changing everybody's work as well.
Right.
But it's something to think about, especially when you're budgeting and deciding things. Because adding workflow could really save you time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. But
I'm
If
impressed
you
with the
could be
website.
available.
Seems like you need a
to
part-time
join,
job. and-
I would
I'll do it for free. I love this stuff.
Holy smoke,
Don't do it during animals.
he's a real software geek.
I am. I actually, yes.
Your passion.
I used to do the Visual Basic on our workflow at home. I love it.
She has a taste for it. She doesn't have a taste for it.
No appetite, yeah. Next, can't take anything else.
Well, the next thing is our compliance.
He would hear to that.
Next thing on the agenda is our compliance enforcement. That's been a challenge. I think I probably ruffled some feathers in the beginning of starting in my position, because I think it's something that we haven't been kept. It's probably fallen through the cracks a little bit. And maybe I'm not doing it correctly. So I guess I'm looking for feedback and suggestions.
You've been working on Clint, haven't you?
I'm
Have
working
you
with
been
Clint,
asking him
yes, sir.
some suggestions? Making him earn his lawyer pay?
And I gotta leave here in 10 minutes.
Yeah. You better get busy quick.
Well, currently kind of how the process works, and I'll kind of run through it real quickly. If a lot of times I get phone calls from a neighbor or something saying such and such is living in their RV and they ain't got an ounce. That's one of my biggest ones recently. So I look it up, do a drive-by, maybe even go talk to them to validate what the situation is. And then send them a letter if I wasn't able to make verbal contact with them. The letter's sent out and it's one certified, one non-certified letter. From there, according to the resolution, I should be, as the planning director and zoning director, then if they don't call back within 30 days and rectify or make some effort to rectify the issue, then I would do a cease and desist order. However, what I do right now is I get a hold of Clint, we discuss it and try to make a decision on how to move forward.
And the
I like
cease
that
and
thought.
desist order really should come over my signature.
Then we need
Although-
to change that.
Okay, but at that point is when I get involved and
I-
we decide if there should be a cease and desist order, and sometimes it's just a letter for me explaining there can be, but right now, we'll hold off, maybe to scare them that, wow, there's a lawyer involved, so this is important.
It would be a one-on-one case by case.
And that is,
Yeah.
that is the way that we've been doing it. So I get a hold of Clint, then he sends out a letter threatening not threatening, but stating there may be a.
If we
cease
can
and
do
desist.
that and explain what
Yes.
the possible penalties are, if we have to go to
Correct.
court on it.
And usually they respond then. But that's a very lengthy process. I'm just saying, because by the time I do my investigating, I send it to you, we talk about it, you send out the letter. Hopefully they then reply. And it's a tedious process on my end to try to track and make sure that I have everything in order and I'm following the book, that I've
Well,
done my homework and
That's the way you should do it. You're innocent until proven guilty. You can't make an
Correct.
accusation that implies you prove yourself that you're innocent, You gotta take it the steps you're doing.
and I hope I didn't imply that I'm.
No, I'm just wondering how
assuming that.
you're implying that you want to hurry up the process.
We really have to depend on
Mhm.
the complaints that come in. That's how everything's initiated in our office. Some neighbors, and sometimes it's a valid complaint, sometimes they are just upset about something, but before we start getting heavy handed, I want to be sure we have the
Yeah.
evidence if we need it.
That's right.
Correct.
Otherwise, Donnelly will have to close the septic system down.
Yeah, well, we get complaints about them all the time, but we give them a pass.
Yeah, I think, according to the zoning resolution, that you have the authority to do a cease and desist.
Sure it is.
I believe as Clint iterated it, more impactful if we involve the county attorney.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I went through and actually read it word for word, which
Mhm.
I had, but it'd been a while and I was like, wait a minute. This needs to be maybe adjusted to add that step in there where I involve Clint. Because right now it's not until you get down to the penalty area or the note further down.
Is there
in the
anything in
process.
here that prohibits you from doing the letter before cease and desist?
Oh, I do the
It
letter
has to.
first. That's the
I
first.
understand that. No, but with Clint's letter, is there anything in here that stops you from doing that letter before the cease and desist? Does this actually have to be changed in order for you to do it that
I
way?
think he
We're
said
doing
he
it
does
that way
do
now.
And so it doesn't say you can't do it that way.
Right.
So
So
do
leave
you
it like
really,
it is.
that's my point. That gives you the option. Otherwise, you don't have an option. You have to go to them.
I think Tom's point is right. You have the authority.
Yeah.
And you can use it. It's up to you how you execute it.
Part of your,
And for a
Customer.
long time, I will definitely be,
How you can use it, well, you
Going
want to
with
use
plan.
it forever. You know, if
Yeah.
needed.
I just suggest not changing.
some of the things that I think we need to consider that goes along with this. And I see a lot of, and it's going on a lot. Where somebody comes in, they pull a building permit for a barn. They then connect their out system to their barn, make a little apartment in there, possibly live in there until their house is done, which I understand. But then at that point, once their house is done, we have no way to make sure that that little apartment that was made is taken out of there. And so
Unless
far,
that-
90% of the time on the issues that I've looked at, that out system is not able to support what they build in their dwelling plus what's in that barn.
Most cases that I've been familiar with, actually putting them in and doing it. They will allow for that to happen and make that the other bathroom. And, you know, all one unit, and that, as long as the system's big enough to handle it, that's okay. What you're working is, I've seen it the other way, where a guy got a little cabin, has a bathroom, bedroom in it, and then builds another house and leaves the little cabin alone.
Yeah, they're actually in a lot of cases building 2-3 bedrooms in that barn.
Right.
And then renting it
three-bedroom
out
septic.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
After the dwelling's made.
So the issue is, you're asking, how do you find out? But once you find out, you have the authority, then you just go after it. Just execute the cease and desist, and they gotta dig it up. I've had guys have to actually dig up the septic tank and reset it
Okay,
because it was wrong, or it was leaking out the back end of it, and had to build a whole new septic field. Infiltrator field.
I guess I'm just gonna throw this out here. I have people coming in a lot of calling and asking. I have this property, I bought it, now I have this apartment. Can I do a long-term rental? That's an SUP, I understand that, or
So it goes through the process.
multi-dwelling. Is that a way, I'm just throwing this out here, you can yell at me, I'm okay.
No,
Is that a way of, helping our housing shortage? Do we need to consider as a county that our population is growing older and older, and they may need that second little apartment for their caretaker?
but that's why the SUP process exists. It's a case by case issue. And where is it and how is it and what are the issues?
So as a buyer that may possibly buy one of these properties, I may be count the way it's being sold to me, and I'm trying not to go
Could be
down this
wrong.
path, but the way it's being sold to me is guest quarters or a second dwelling, and it's not permitted that way,
It's not
but it's
permitted.
happening a lot.
And it's interesting that you bring that up because actually Jackie Hobby brought that up to me in just a conversation when we were talking about short-term rentals, but when she had to take care of her mom, it would have been a lot easier if her mom could have been on the same property in like a care cottage,
Mhm,
you know, and we do have an aging population.
we do.
We have just a year ago, turned down an SUP for exactly that situation. The Smiths. And so I think we need to be careful because
Right.
we've got, you
Be
know,
consistent.
yeah, you can't just all of a sudden start doing that because then you're gonna have.
I
lawsuits.
understand that. I'm just.
But that's
I'm
why
just
there are
saying, I think
hearings,
it's
and that's
something we need to
why-
consider,
The
because
process.
it's gonna continue to be an issue. If we allow people to start out in their barn and then go to their dwelling, and we have no way to enforce them. So the one of the issues that I dealt with, they just took the stove out. Well, that could easily be put back in, the hole's still there in the counter, the
Yeah.
bedrooms are still made, it's set there.
There was also one where.
But then they
I was-
advertise it though. You know, there's ways that you can enforce it because
Exactly. Jackie had them crush a pipe. You remember that one? That was recent
Okay.
as well. She's pretty good about doing those site visits And, okay, you have to do this and this and this and this, and then actually they did that, and she decided they had to do some more.
See, that's the, from a septic point of view, you can do that. Because
Yes,
okay.
she has to do a final inspection, and if they're closing it up, they got a new building in there, and they're dumping into that off of a barn.
Gotta crush it.
Well, I think we all know that there are multiple dwellings, multiple residences on one parcel, which
A lot
is
of it.
against our zoning resolution.
A lot of
That's
it.
a compliance officer thing. I want to go back and ask Bill a question. You've been on that planning commission a long time. My understanding was the reason that language is in the zoning resolution about one dwelling per parcel was to address density.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
Is that in 2022 a big concern?
Well, I think he's shaking his head. no.
Because
I
the
think
the language is right.
that,
Just gonna move.
it is a concern, and it's a concern from water and
Yeah.
infrastructure and everything.
Yes, it does.
So the county hasn't changed physically, except maybe getting a little drier. But the number of people in it, you know, it's getting used harder and harder and harder, so that is a concern.
But it's at, wherever it was designed, that's my point is the density with 80s, 40s, 2s, 10s, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the density in the end, and as long as there's water.
But I-
And that both, that's what limits the population.
And when zone 5, which I live in, now I live in zone 4 because zone 5 was eliminated. It just disappeared. Is a 10-acre zone, and one of the reasons for it being a 10-acre zone, the hard to travel district, was the limited water supply.
Mhm.
I mean, Kevin lives in a very dry place at the lower end of Custer County, and sometimes you don't have water in your well. And you can spend a lot of money drilling for it, and sometimes you find it, but most of the time you don't.
And so what happens if I move into this county, which has been happening a lot? I build a house, I build a barn, I build an apartment above it, and I move another family in there. And we know that's
Oh, yeah.
happening.
Oh, yeah.
It's against the zoning
It's
regulations.
already in place. Do we have what it takes to do a cease and desist and have you tear out all that plumbing and disconnect from the,
The man to answer that question just left.
And
well,
is
but I
that
think
really
we do.
fair
Sure
to
we
that
do.
person that had that sold to them as a second dwelling?
right.
You know, I bought it and I don't know. It's gonna be I'm just saying from what I see, this is gonna be an issue.
See, but I just went through that with one out here on the bottom of the valley. They didn't hook up the pump on a system that was above ground. And so that person bought it and then, and they looked at the wire and it looked like it was hooked up. It wasn't. And for 2 years, they dumped into a tank that leaked into the ground because it never got pumped up. Person that's liable is not the county. The inspections were carried out, the septic field was built correctly and all that. The electrician didn't, when he did his inspection, didn't turn it on. And so it goes back and then the realtor, and when you go through that, and you're talking to a realtor back there. They have to make sure the title search and they do a home, what do you call it? A home inspection requirement to inspect it.
Well, and there's nothing that's written that
That's
says
right.
that they're required
That's
to do
right.
any inspections.
But
at
if
all.
you're buying,
You
you
want to.
require. And that part of, and a lot of mortgage companies will make you do it to make sure, at least that's been my experience. But anyway, so what can you do? Who the guy's liable in the end is the buyer has to beware and the seller needs to be truthful.
Mhm. And getting our online system will help some of that, I hope.
Yeah, it should. The
But if
guy
I
can
go
look it
out
up.
there and I have somebody crush their pipe to their septic to the barn. That house changes hands. Somebody's gonna move into that barn and it's gonna be that
Mhm.
type of issue.
Yeah,
Right,
they
but-
made them take all the plumbing out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we need to, in my opinion, if we do that, we need to be consistent.
Sure.
There's a lot of people
Sure.
out here that are doing
But
it.
even in that
We're not
example you
getting-
use, you start dumping into the ground and back right up. It's easy to find, and that person matters in heck.
Yeah.
Well, and it can't go anywhere else because it's not supposed to be using it anyway.
Yeah, I just think we're gonna fight a seriously uphill battle when we start telling people that we've allowed.
Mm,
There's one right east of town, built a big old house, built a big old barn. Apartment above it, you can see all the vent pipes coming out, the stove, you know somebody's living in there. That is against the zoning resolution. Who's gonna go out there and telling people they gotta abandon that building? Not me.
Is it in the county or still?
Well, that happens to be in the town, so.
Okay, so.
Well, there's
But
there's
it's-
plenty in the
there are
county.
plenty in the county. I'm
I'm
just
sure,
saying
I'm sure there are.
that same
There's one
thing
right-
is happening.
As unpopular as it is, you're gonna have to cease the practice.
Well, and a lot of that you'll find on a sale, when they start turning those houses.
Or they try to do an STR on it.
Right, if you try to do an STR, you're done. And they try to advertise or sneak it in there, they're done.
You're done.
Well, what about, our median age has gone up in the past 5 years. It was 57.6 in 2017. It is now 60.1. So we are getting older. So what about, a unit like that houses a caregiver? I mean,
That's their
Right
problem.
now, what I tell them is to build onto their existing dwelling if they
And
have
their
room.
septic if they need to, and that's
Yeah.
what the Smiths ended up
And if they
doing.
want to do it.
And it's beautiful.
People do.
They didn't want to, but yes, you upgrade the septic and you build
A
on.
lot cheaper than.
But then you have a 35-acre property that, according to what one of them that I looked at, you can have a second dwelling on that 35-acre property.
You can have a separate building. Didn't say-
Depending on the
not-
zone.
It
Well,
says you can have multi-dwelling based on the well.
That's
What
the well. Permit, the septic
Yeah.
system's different.
And then 35 acres long, yeah.
I have a
There's
question.
one dwelling per parcel,
That's
Per
it.
parcel,
and
Right.
35 acres long.
but the well would allow a second dwelling.
Yes, but the zoning doesn't.
Right.
You can,
Okay.
but you can have
I'm just-
water going to a
I'm
barn.
just saying,
It's
we have a
another-
housing,
Another structure.
Yes.
I'm just saying, we have a housing shortage.
Whatever.
As long as it's not-
Restricted.
Gray water
That's
coming
right.
out,
That's right.
gray or black
I
water.
have a question. I've heard people say, oh, I had somebody say it to me the other day. Oh, it's all one roof. Well, it was clearly two buildings, but there's only one roof line and there's a breeze.
Carport.
Is that,
Okay.
is that one building or is it two?
No,
It's an attached garage.
But it's, they have
Carport.
living quarters in
You
it.
can have a breezeway through your house.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
So as long as they share a roof.
Well, your septic.
And the septic
as
mass.
long as
Well, it would still be a bedroom, that's the number of bedrooms. it can.
Right, okay. I was just curious.
It's an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's gonna be so hard. I don't know how.
You
do
asked
it.
for the job. You-
I did, I'm not complaining. I'm
And
just
you're
clarifying.
too.
Well, and I sat
You
down
have a
and had that
presence.
same conversation Bill was just trying to have a minute ago with.
I'm not getting one to
Jennifer,
give up.
Because I would swear that our realtor said the same thing as far as,
So
some of
I
that.
had an inspection before you.
Yeah,
care if
it
I
may not
share?
technically be a requirement, but you're
Right.
being told that.
You want me to share that or no?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, so when a buyer buys, it per their contract, they have the right to inspect. Now, it's not a requirement that they do. They can actually have Joe Blow, they could have their brother come and look and do an inspection. It doesn't say that you have to have a license, anything. Now, if, now an appraisal, if you get a loan, they're not gonna be looking at the operations of the building, they're looking at the integrity.
Right,
Okay, two different things. Well, then, let's say we end up going into, we have this inspection done by a licensed professional. And we find out that they decide that the roof needs to be repaired or replaced. Now, if the addendum or the inspection objection says replace roof, then the lender gets that says replace roof. Now that becomes a requirement for the loan. However, if they put in, give a credit for $2,000
You let them do it later.
and then they can do it later for inspection items, the lender won't get that and it won't be a lender requirement. So inspections, even though people say, hey, it's required, any good realtor is going to say, get your inspections, because it takes the liability off of them
That's
because
right.
they've hired the people. They'll even go another step that if they choose not to hire a professional to sign something that says that they waived it. But there's nothing
If
in
they
there.
agree to the waiver, then they're liable.
Yeah, they're liable for themselves.
That's right. They
Right.
can't complain, they can't do anything.
Uh-huh.
Is that all
So
you
can I
have?
set the use tax on the 29th agenda? In the online,
To you, if you're ready for it, you gotta be ready.
I'm ready for it.
Okay.
Okay, what would you like me to do, Dorothy, on the agenda?
What else you need, boss?
Just add so that they can decide on the use, changing the use, the way we collect the use tax.
She has resolution revisions on here, which
And,
you've been
I will-
showing us to some degree.
yeah,
Need to get with.
Obviously,
Clint
we
and
need to
compare it
do
and
the-
See what it needs to be, resolution.
okay, get with who?
Clint.
Oh, yeah. The
Well,
use
if
tax
you-
we need to change, and then I do have a couple other things that I think are not. How do I say this? Very
The money
clear.
quick.
It could go one way or another, and we've been keeping a list, and it's not, I guess because we're making this, if we're gonna make this change, we might as well make what other, I made
And
those other
I
changes.
visited with Dorothy some, and I said, if there are changes that we need to make, we need to get them all together. Because it is a long drawn out process. if we're
They
gonna
don't come
change
to
it.
us.
And they
Gotta go to
planning
these guys.
They
Yeah.
have to go to the, yeah, and it's gotta go through the
Hearings.
hearing process and
Correct.
everything, and then after all that, then it comes to us. But,
Yeah, it's gotta be clear so the people can be ready for people.
if there are issues that need to be addressed, I think they all need to be in one group, so it's not you can only do that on a good year, maybe twice a year, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah, but
I would say
I'd like to
get things
not
tweaked the way
rush.
they need to be tweaked, and then we're done for a while, because,
Usually it takes 2 or 3 months.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it takes a while.
You spurred a thought, and it pertains to an upcoming agenda item. In order for us to consider a recommendation from the planning commission about a short-term rental, we have to have all the documentation pertaining to that. We can't just act on a recommendation.
Okay.
According to zoning
And
resolution.
we have all of that documentation,
Before that meeting, you would need to shoot us.
correct? And that's on the 29th,
Mhm.
correct? We have that packet, and we will be happy
So
to
we
send
have-
that off to you.
Don't you need minutes as well?
No,
Okay.
all the relevant,
Yeah.
documentation pertaining to the short-term rental.
Just the application and documents. Okay.
Just what you sent out to us, probably. Dorothy.
So do we have one STR, we got one thing from you guys, or
Vacate.
the lot vacate too? Huh? Or does that even come to us?
That's resolved.
That's come,
Yeah, they resolved. Okay.
That's gone off the table. So it's just the STR.
Yep.
And we have 2 coming up the next month to be heard.
Good.
So will you guys vote on changing the way we collect the use tax, or,
Not if it's in conflict with what's in the resolution.
so that needs,
If there's anything different, you'd have to go through the planning commission.
and they have to make.
You
the
wanna add the word
recommendation.
2%? Gotta go through the planning. commission.
Okay.
And you better not be adding 2%. You're just, it's.
I'm not adding
Adding
2%.
wording.
You-
adding
That's
the
right.
wording.
You gotta be careful how you word it.
And
It's
maybe
not
we
an
don't
addition.
add the actual
I
amount.
was gonna say. I
It's
would
just a
put the amount
process.
that You can change
Yeah,
Right.
it's just a process.
And
Well,
it's just a
current.
process.
amount.
Correct.
Yeah.
if you can make what you're
That's not changing the
planning on
resolution,
doing
no.
fit the current
Oh,
Resolution.
resolution, It doesn't say it has to be done before or after. I don't
You may
think.
not have to change.
Yeah, I think you got the flexibility to do it as a process
Because
as opposed to a
we're just
change.
changing the process, not the amount or anything, so I could go ahead and do it without changing the
Should
resolution.
be,
Is that
I
what you're
think.
saying?
And does that need to go before the board to change the process?
It's a process we're gonna agree to. and Her process,
Not necessarily. I think
We
that's
don't-
a, that's an
Planning
admin.
commission
thing.
doesn't
I think,
collect money or set fees.
no,
So,
Oh, we set fees.
but it,
No, planning commission.
Oh,
doesn't.
planning, I thought you said board, the county.
but then
Right.
if you would like to have the wording different in the resolution, then that needs to come with the items.
If it doesn't have to be.
I don't think- I think it's
just put a
your-
little sign up and
it's your
start,
process.
and start telling them
Yeah.
up front, that's what we're gonna do. I've already been talking
It's not
to
anything new.
a lot of the contractors and they're,
They
for the
used
most
to
part,
do
I
it.
have not had
They
any
used to take it,
negative
yeah.
responses other than they're worried about the
Right.
receipt, get them honoring the receipt. So we'll work through that.
I
Yeah,
think it's fine as it's written.
yeah, I think it is.
So do I need that on the agenda, I guess is what I was getting at.
I don't think so.
No,
Okay. Awesome.
The other thing, we made a note of this in one of those pieces of paper was that changing from 60 cents to $1.80 post-construction, that you couldn't find anything in the resolution.
Yeah.
That's by design, because it's an addendum to the resolution, and that's the fee structure.
Okay, and that's what I needed to clarify.
Because every
I
time we
wasn't sure.
change fee structure, we'd have to.
Can't be right.
read the whole
Right.
resolution. So,
That's what I was assuming,
Yeah.
that I put that, and I didn't probably mention that, but yeah.
Yeah.
that
and I
was one of
wonder
my
if this
questions.
use tax should be on the fee structure or yeah, it's not really
no, it's not.
fee schedule.
It's just collecting. It's
Yeah.
collecting.
It's just the process and how we're gonna go about collecting it.
And I think doing it on up on the front end is absolutely.
Is it listed in, County Resolution 93.4? Depending on the circumstances, one of the following deadlines shall apply to the payment of county use tax per Custer County Resolution 93-4. Is the actual,
I think that's
I think that would be it.
January 1 under
okay,
300.
so it doesn't say it doesn't have the amount.
No, it does not have the amount in there.
It just says
There
you're gonna
will
pay
be.
it because we said so, you have to pay it in this.
Right.
Okay, that works.
If I can get the proposal or put together a more formal proposal on which online system I would like to use, can I put that on the agenda?
Won't do you any good, but yep.
See how you, if I bring donuts to the
We're-
next
yeah.
meeting.
We're a month away from budget here.
That's what I was about to say.
So it's
How do
gonna
you
be in
get
your
it under the budget?
If you're gonna wanna do
If I
that,
get enough
come to
use
the
tax
proposal.
between now and
Uh,
the 20.
No, man, it sounds like there's not that much. There isn't that much.
I haven't been through that process, so I will, it
I
will be a,
would
an
make a run
experiment.
out of it through your budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
make sure you
have.
add, don't put their quote in there, add some. There's gonna be other stuff that they're gonna have on there, you know it.
Yeah,
And-
and we always trim everything because we know it.
Okay, so then
You
add
know,
20.
I know you just add, you double it,
Great.
and we'll take off 3/4.
we'll talk.
All right.
All right.
Okay, I do have somebody, Mr. Rice, were you needing to make a comment or anything?
You only have one on.
Oh, there we go. I was just wanting to introduce myself to the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. I've kind of been appointed. I'm sure you guys are all aware of the hemp plant operation that is looking to be established up in Aspen Mountain Ranch, the Centennial Ranch portion of the county. And I've somewhat, I guess, appointed myself or been asked to kind of be the point person for you all, so you're not getting inundated by an angry mob of 40 residents up there. And so I've just wanted to introduce myself, and I won't take up any of your guys' time today, but just wanted to make you aware of who I was, and if you heard from me, that's what I was most likely calling about.
Good, appreciate that. Yeah, I talked to one of your neighbors to the south. Well, I didn't talk to him, I'm sorry. I've heard from one of your neighbors from the southwest, very upset about that whole thing. I've heard from another neighbor to your southeast that has absolutely no problem with it. I've got a concern, John, and I'm sure you're aware of this, and that's the water thing. My understanding, talking to the water commissioner, is probably not gonna be able to get a commercial well. Your anti-neighbor believes you're gonna run that whole hemp thing off of your domestic well, and if that's in the works, that's gonna get real ugly.
Yeah, the current owner has indicated to the planning department that, and I believe he has now told Jerry this, that he is going to take the route of trucking water, which is problematic from the HOA's perspective. That's something that the HOA is going to have to deal with. That's given the size of the greenhouses that it looks like he appears he's going to be putting up there. That would be trucking in probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 acre-feet of water a summer, which 200 plus water trucks moving over those HOA roads during the monsoon season is going to have it's going to be a real problem for the HOA, who already has trouble with the roads to begin with in terms of maintenance. Obviously, that's an HOA issue. If they come up from Gardner, then there'll be a Fremont County issue. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Werfeno, not Fremont.
I'm sorry, Werfenos, excuse me.
Yeah, the other concern I've had voiced to me was, and I happen to agree with it, there is a fine chemical line between hemp and marijuana. That's on us to make sure that that's not become an illegal marijuana grow. That's not, it's not necessarily on you, but
yeah.
that has been.
My other concern is, obviously there's the right to ranch and farm policy of the county, and the county recognizes hemp as an agricultural product. That said, when you start talking about ranching and farming in the way that I read the right to ranch and farm policy, is that it's all manner of traditional agriculture. And I'm not sure that hemp farming in a commercial grade greenhouse falls under that classification. And I think that the state's requirement that you can't run a hemp operation off a residential exempt well, but you can corn, up to an acre, kind of supports the idea that this is not a agricultural product that falls under traditional agriculture.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's, the state's dealt with that legislatively, and particularly with the water courts, but those are just a couple concerns that have been voiced to me. I happened to be up there the other day. I didn't drive onto the property. I observed it from the county road. How many greenhouses, and is there going to be a dwelling there?
Two
There's a dwelling on both. He owns 2 lots. There's a dwelling on the lot. There's 2 greenhouses. And then on the lot that has the greenhouses, there's a 6-bed, 3-bath house. And then on the lot above, there's another dwelling. I don't know how large. The pad's not as big, but he has been issued that dwelling permit. The other issue is he's got a third accessory building next to the greenhouses, which is going to be used as a CBD extraction facility, which to me is absolutely commercial. There's no question to me that is a commercial application. It requires heating and cooling.
Back for just a second, though. This isn't an agenda item, and I don't know if we need to go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't want to get in too deep where we shouldn't be.
I apologize.
No, you were asked questions, so that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're not overstepping where we could go on it.
Just public comment.
Okay,
We don't make any decision.
go ahead then, I guess.
Well,
But
it's not
I agree. I
related
don't
to
know how
the
deep we
meeting.
need to get in the weeds
Yeah,
today.
I didn't want
I
to
do
go.
appreciate you
Yeah.
being on.
So I guess just to finish the comment then is that building has received an accessory building permit. And I see that no different as I raise Tibetan yaks up there. I see that no different as me putting in a request for a kill facility or a packing plant. So, and then I guess my last comment is only that, that portion of Aspen Mountain Ranch is defined by CPW as both a critical habitat for winter concentration area as well as calving. So I just, would encourage the county to be diligent in terms of thinking about open space and so on and so forth.
And John, just for my own personal edification, you don't work for these people that own this property?
No, I own the acreage to the north that is between them and Trent Stafford's property, the old Vickerman Ranch.
Okay, all right. Just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, John.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think that the comments would be best in front of the entire planning commission.
That's right.
Yeah, and if it's something that's coming before you guys, we're mixed, if
Not
we're
gonna get in the
mixing
middle.
county commissioners and planning commission, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to interject there.
So is that something?
You gotta come to us with
Planning
recommendations,
Commission,
not
up to this
participate.
point, They're not doing anything. They permitted everything.
You mentioned that at the previous
Correct.
meeting. So we understand that, but a lot of those details we didn't hear. And it would be best if we heard them.
And I'm hearing some of that for the first time.
Right,
Interesting.
and so it would be, if it's something that he wants to do like a pre-meeting via Zoom or whatever on the agenda at a planning commission, that would be,
The person doing the hemp grow or John?
Whoever's bringing it.
Whoever has authority to say something.
to speak, yeah. If they want to give us information to have in our heads, then an agenda item at a meeting.
I did
Because-
offer a pre-meeting with the person building the hemp grow.
We told.
And they have not pursued that at this point because I wanted them to understand, everything that they need was all the hoops they were gonna have to jump through. And I did make it very clear to them that and gave them, I believe, the water commissioner's phone number, because I wanted to make sure that they were understanding what they needed to do from a well standpoint. And there was some concern whether they had diverted a creek that runs through there. And I did give Jerry Livengood that information and he did confirm that there's nothing going on. So,
Did you give them an SUP application?
yes, I did.
All right.
The whole processing plant's going to be another bag of
Yes.
nerves.
And that's on us, you said, to determine the THC level?
No, that's state. They have to inspect
Okay,
those
because I've
plants.
heard you say,
I said there's just a fine chemical line between marijuana and hemp.
and that's on us, you
State.
said.
No. Well, I didn't mean us as planning.
Okay,
commission.
good, thank you.
No, sorry, I did say that.
Freaked
You're
me
right.
out.
No, that's on the state.
Okay,
That's on government, what I should have said.
all right, that.
Not Yeah.
Dorothy, have you got anything else
I
for
don't
this
have
meeting?
anything else. Thank you.
Okay,
was really
so
good,
I
though.
will adjourn this meeting at 10:57 a.m.
Thank
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And I put this in your folder.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, well, this is that country up there. You've been up there.
It was out there. Actually, it was.
That was such a
Yeah.
pristine